the AICT Atal 3D printing and design 5 days online sponsor program is going on. And now it's going to central ceremony program. The end of the program is going on. Before that, to start the second session now, I introduced the keynote speaker, Dr. S. Kanmani Suppu, Assistant Professor, Mechanical Engineering, IIT Palakkad, Kerala. He has completed BE program at Madras University, did ME program at Anna University, and also doctorate in IIT Kanpur. He was worked Prince Sri Venkateswara, Padmavati Engineering College, and Ponmalar and other colleges were working from the lecturer, associate lecturer, and different positions he was worked, and also presently working at Palakkad, Kerala. He was involved in research in the topic of micro machining, laser surface treatment, additive manufacturing, composite fabrication and machining, metal forming, and conventional machining. Now it's now Sir is working as a PhD research scholar. Research to guided 3 people to complete one paper, one research scholar is completed and also graduated, and also 2 research scholar is ongoing in the PhD, and also to complete the project for MTech 13 and also UG degree 15 students are completed. He is a member of Industrial and Academic License Committee. He has received 2nd prize postal presentation ASME gas turbine Bangalore, India 2011. The top 25 hottest articles submitted during the ME program. He got it to the gold medalist, and also the grant is received from DST, CSIR, and also he is an advisory committee member. International and national level. So he submitted the paper in IIT Palakkad 3 papers, and also NIT Warangal 30 papers, the national level up to 10. He is also a member of ISTE, MIE, IEI, and Indian Laser Association, ILA, India. So recently he was published 5 papers. He was published 5 papers. This is the today's keynote address speaker, Dr. Kanmani sir. I once again warm welcome to deliver the today's section. So today's session 2. This topic, a journey from rapid prototyping to additive manufacturing. Now call upon our today's speaker, Dr. Kanmani Suppu sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for a nice introduction.
Thank you.
So, is this my screen visible to all?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay.
Screen is visible, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay, then.
Okay, sir.
Thank
you. Thank
you. I'll just start my session. So, good afternoon to all. Like you might have attended the inaugural function of this Atal program. Okay. So initially it was planned as a second session lecture, but maybe half an hour before I came to know there was no first session lecture, then that is postponed to today evening 4 o'clock. But in that case, in my lecture has become like a first lecture. It's a good thing. Like I had to give some basics related to this 3D printing. Okay, then I will go like inside about the topic which I floated for this talk. Okay, so like I request the audience, please be very interactive. Okay, it is not like that I am only going to deliver the talk. Like whenever you want, please stop me and then ask questions. I'm ready to answer for those questions. Okay. Yeah, so the title of my talk is like Journey from Rapid Prototyping to Additive Manufacturing. So before starting this session, okay, so generally we say this overall process called 3D printing. Okay. So this 3D printing and additive manufacturing both are like same, it's kind of synonyms in my opinion. Okay, so please keep that in your mind. Either 3D printing or additive manufacturing, the name wise both are like same. It sounds same only, but inner wise there is a meaning changes there that I will tell you at the end of the talk. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. So, it's a customary thing, since I'm working in Palakkad, like I would like to introduce about our institute. Like it started in 2015. Okay, our director is maybe Sunil Kumar. He's a physicist from IT Madras. And then here there are around 700 students there in like UG and PG. And then now around 100 faculty members are there recently. 20 of them have joined. Okay. Then there are like programs like BTech program. We have 4 years BTech programs, and then recently we started to 2 MTech programs. Especially in this semester, we started 3 more MTech programs, and then MS and PhD programs are also running in 4 different streams. One is civil engineering, computer science engineering, electrical engineering, and mechanical engineering. Okay. So this IIT Palakkad is a 3rd generation IIT. Okay, we are now started to construct our permanent campus, but meanwhile, we have to run our campus. So we just hired one campus in Aghalya, that is in Palakkad. There we are running our temporary campus, whereas we have another campus in the permanent place itself. In one of the corners, we built a transit campus. Okay. So my office is situated there only. I'm giving a talk from our transit campus from at Kanjikot. Okay. So this is a basic introduction to IIT Palakkad. I'll move on to the contents, what I'm going to cover in this particular topic. Okay. We'll just see overall about what are the manufacturing principles, where this additive manufacturing comes. Then what is the applications of this 3D printing? Then what is the overall history of 3D printing? What are the steps are involved in the particularly additive manufacturing process? Okay, and what are the processes are there? How it is evolved from rapid prototyping to say rapid manufacturing or additive manufacturing. So and then finally, there are few particular application related to 3D printing. Especially, I used to concentrate on rapid tooling and then conformal cooling things. And then finally, I'll discuss about the capability of 3D printing. Possible, I'll cover one case study, and then I'll finish my talk. Okay, there's an overall overview of my talk. Okay, please be very interactive, as I said initially. Generally, we have to manufacture a product. For that, we need a parts or components. So there are many manufacturing principles are available to fabricate a product. So in that sense, if you have whatever manufacturing principles are there, that is now classified under 3 categories. One is called formative, and second one is called subtractive, and then third one is called additive. In formative, in the name itself, you can guess it. It's like basically a forming kind of process. That means, in overall manufacturing process, forming is one of the processes. So forming can be done. Even the casting also comes under the category of formative here. Overall principle is it's a formative. Okay. Whereas another thing is subtractive. That means you remove the unwanted material from the given material. Okay, then whatever you decide that can be received from the subtractive. And then finally, it's called additive. So what additive is like, you have to make the product or fabricate a product by adding the material instead of changing the shape of the material or otherwise removing the material. That comes under the category of additive. So these are the overall 3 manufacturing principles. Especially this particular workshop is concentrating on additive things. Okay, so we are supposed to know where the additive stands now. Okay, for that purpose only I added. So now, as I said in the previous slide, there are 3 basic manufacturing processes: subtractive, formative, additive. Okay, so in each case we need a raw material. For example, if I talk about casting, what is a raw material? You know that it's like we need a metal scraps or metal powders or what, like you melt it and pour it into the cavity, or to solidify, you'll get a final product. Whereas in the formative, your raw materials may be like a solid metal, okay? So that in a particular shape, then you apply the load to that and deform it, and then you get a final product out of the like forming process. So like that, in each process there is a raw material necessity. Okay, then additive manufacturing, yeah, there also we need a different type of raw materials. Then process further classified based on the raw material what we are using it. And then the subtractive. The subtractive is, yeah, as we know that we are removing the unwanted material from the given material. It is not only making the products. Even if you do either formative or additive, we need a subtractive process. Why? Subtractive is not only making the final product, even it does that like making a good finish on the product. For example, you in a formative, you do casting, you'll get a cast product, or you do forming, you'll get a formed product. Then you do additive manufacturing, you get a additively manufactured product. All those products, okay, you made it, but is it in accurate dimension? Or is it in the required surface roughness? So all those things are like we can't ensure sometimes by the single process, we need a secondary process. So that is the way the subtractive come to the picture. Okay, with the help of that, we can ensure the correct dimension, and plus we can ensure the required surface roughness on the workpiece. Okay, so what I'm trying to say that these processes are like it's like it is like dependent process. It's not like we can say it completely independent. Okay, so now I can't like make a product only by additive manufacturing, because after additive manufacturing there are some secondary processes are necessary. In that case, the subtractive plays a major role as compared to the formative. Okay, that is why this slide says. Now, if we say here, then this is, I understood that additive and subtractives are very like important processes. In that case, now I should supposed to know what is the basic difference between these two processes. So how can I achieve the good dimensional accuracy, and then I can achieve the good surface finish on the product. If you see this definition wise difference, okay, in additive we are adding the material base, say layer by layer, whereas in the subtractive what we are doing, we are removing the material from an object, maybe in a layer form or in a bulk form. Another thing, what are the tools we are using for that? Here, tooling. The tooling, please don't consider people. Then most of the people may tool, if I say, you may think that single point cutting tool. But here, the tooling means it's like whatever the like equipment or whatever the instruments or whatever the accessories you are using it. That is called tooling. In that case, in additive manufacturing, that 3D printing machine is the a tool. Whereas in a subtractive, that equipments, okay, like machines, the computers which is controlling the machine, like CNC controlled machine, robots, fixtures, all those are like a tooling in that. Okay, so whereas in the 3D printing we have majorly only one major tool. And process wise, you know, what are the difference between these two? This, whereas in the process wise here in 3D printing, what I need is like I need a digital data, from that I can print directly. Whereas here in CNC, we need a code in which would be the tool supposed to travel on the workpiece so that it will get a final piece, and then how to remove that part, those things you have to do it in this subtractive thing. And then complexity point of view, yeah, additive manufacturing address a more complex things, whereas in the subtractive it is very difficult to address the very complex structures. Why? Because the tool sizes dictate the your final complexity of the product which one you are making it. So if a tool is where you have a very intricate shapes, okay, there the tool may not travel inside. Okay, the tool nose radius may not allow you to go inside. There is a restriction on that. And moreover, if you want to go for such a very complex thing, the traveling of the tool, it is not easy at all. It is very difficult. For example, in a CNC, okay, you know that there is an option. The tool supposed to move, say, in a straight way. For example, linear cut you want to do, it may go in a straight way. Whereas if you you want to go like you want to cut like in a curved shape. So just anyone can tell me, or maybe chat me like in a answer in a chat, how to get a curved cut on the given workpiece by CNC machining or in a general conventional machining. Basically, we want to cut a curved shape. Okay, how to cut on that? Please unmute yourself. 1 or 2 answers I can hear from the audience. sorry. I want to see sharing, like, just a minute, chat box. Yeah. Sound issue, screen not visible, screen. I'm just seeing this two like candidates thing, but people are saying that there is no screen. Are you able to see my screen?
No, sir.
Yes, sir. We are able. Yes, sir.
I don't know. Like I want.
We are able to see.
No, I want to see the chat also. That's why I just came out now. Just a minute. I'll just see the chat box also possible parallelly. Yes. So stop sharing. Okay, wait. I'll just stop share now. I'll go for sharing again. Present now your window. Okay, so are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So now I pose the one question. In CNC machining, if I want to make a curve cut, okay, how can I do it? So please, participants, can you unmute yourself, say one or two answers so that I can move ahead. Is it muted for all? Hello, sir? Is it muted for all? Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah. So audience can speak here, or it's very difficult for them to speak?
So it's clear, sir.
Yeah, no, for me it's okay, sir. But I would like to hear some maybe answers from the audience. So can you allow the audience to talk? Maybe you allow them like unmute by themselves, or is it possible to do that? Otherwise, it's very difficult. I have to only talk. So if I get the
Yeah, it is possible.
yeah, please. Then can you just tell me the answer? Like, see, if I want to have a curved thing, like it is very difficult by CNC. Okay. Okay. Anyway, I'll just go with an answer. In CNC, if we go, even there also, if we go and see the finer details, it is there also. It is like move in a XY manner only, not like exactly curve. So that kind of challenges are there in the subtractive. Okay. So that may limit your like making the complex shapes on the final product. And then speed wise, yeah, here in additive manufacturing, we can make as many number of products in a single go. Okay, so that you can make a process very, very fast. Whereas here, if you want to do, I want to do each and every time to just load the sample and do it, and then unload the sample, and each machining has one cycle time. So all those things you have to follow. Material wastage point of view, yeah, here very less in additive manufacturing, but whereas here in subtractive, yeah, there are many. Though that can be used as those scraps can be reused, but it is not easy as we think. Okay, we have to segregate as per the material, and then only you can reuse. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. So, what are the overall usage of 3D printing? Okay, so as I said initially, okay, the name additive manufacturing or 3D printing looks both are same. Okay, there is no major change. But why particularly this additive manufacturing people are using mostly, I will tell at the end of the talk. Okay, so now if you see this 3D printing, like there are many applications. Okay, so now here you see that this pie chart kind of thing. Here you see that spare parts can be produced for the devices. So generally what happens, you are using one product, okay? In that it consists of many parts, okay? So one of the parts are broken, or one of the parts are maybe malfunctioning. You want to replace it, okay? For example, that is in a polymer thing. Then what happened? Now we have a 3D printer, okay? Polymer-based 3D printer. If you have that, you know the dimension of that. If you get a CAD file of that part which is not working properly for your device, you just reprint like in your printed in your home itself, and then you can reuse it. You don't need to go to even shop for repairing those things. So that kind of things are possible. and then see it may produce the covers and kind of things for the devices. Artistic items, if we want some items very complex and very thin and then very like curved in the nature, all those kind of artistic items can be like fabricated by the 3D printing. Visual aids, there are something we can't even imagine, but if we have this 3D printing, we can have that kind of visual aids. Okay, then presentation models. Okay, you can okay, for example, like okay, you are constructing the building. Okay, generally you might have seen that in any big malls or big institutes or government agencies. If we go to their main building, okay, there you can see in the entrance they have a model of that building. Okay, so those model and all you can print by 3D printer. Functional models. Okay, that there are some models you know how it's functioning. For example, gear assembly is there. I want to realize that how the spur gear is running, how this helical gear is running, how this helical gear is getting engaged. All those things I can make as a model and then check with the functionality also with the help of 3D printing. Then this is used for making a pattern in mold. This is I'll discuss in depth a little later, but I will give a small hint here. Okay, generally, you know, in a casting, if you want to make any product, ultimately you need a pattern. Okay, so generally in casting, you know, like what are the materials you're using as a pattern material? Maybe you're using wooden piece, you're using like say metal pieces, you're using a polymer pieces. So now those patterns also can be fabricated by the 3D printing. Okay, then in a research and educational purposes we are using it. In the sense, if I want to know something before realizing in the real time, I will print it in a polymer 3D printer. I realize first, then I can go for that. I can do a in-depth research on that. Okay, how it is working, why it is not, whether it is functioning properly or not, or it is giving a proper appeal to the people, all those things. And then now finally that we can make a direct part production also. That also can be done. Okay, and then even furnitures and household decorations, that also can be like prepared by the 3D printer. And then there are many other things like what are the comes in this category, those comes in the category of others. Okay, this is the kind of applications of 3D printing. There are other a little more industry-wise where we are using. If you see here in electronics, they are using more than a 20%. In automotive field, they are using 90%. In medical, okay, 16% they are using. In architecture, 15%. Aerospace, 10%. In education, 9%, 9.8%. In others is going in 7.9%. Okay, let's see here in a medical. Okay, can anyone tell what is the use of 3D printing in a medical field? Please unmute yourself and say.
To making a bond.
Yeah, very nice. So making a bone, yeah, it is a recent thing it is happening. Okay. For example, you want to know that implants and all, correct? In a implants, like you want to realize what shape of implant you want exactly. Okay, but what they used to do, they will do the first MRI scan of your particular part. After that, they take the data. From the data, they'll develop a CAD file. From the CAD file, they will print the final one. But printing the final implant, what they will do, first they will do it with some participants. Excuse me all, please mute yourself. Yeah, thank you. So what I'm trying to say here, in a medical field, if I want to finally make an implant by the metal thing, okay, I can go for a machining. Okay, that is a one way to do. But if I want to do a machining, before that I want to know exact shape I'm getting or not, that I can do it by 3D printing. First I'll realize, okay, then I can use. Then you have you heard about like endoscopic? Okay, generally, what is the use of endoscopic? So if you want to see some intestine problem or something, they will insert a camera kind of thing inside your throat and check how the things like functioning properly or not. That is called like endoscopic method. That endoscopic, if you see that, like you have to insert such a small camera inside. After that, you have to pass the camera inside your body. Okay, it's not easy because it's inside its structure is very, very, very complex in nature. Okay, so now, for example, in an hospital, when a doctor is joining, okay, he is supposed to do this endoscopy, okay. So he wants to learn how to use that endoscopy effectively. So now you ultimately, you have to use that small tiny camera which is connected to your rope kind of thing that you have to send inside the body. After that, like a joystick kind of thing is there outside. With help of that, you have to direct that tiny camera inside your body. So now, how the doctor can training? We can't train with a real person, correct? It is very difficult. So now this 3D printing thing, it may like 3D print like whatever organs and whatever veins or whatever is there inside, it will reprint as it is. After doing that, you can have that as per like practicing the doctor. Even nowadays, maybe a few years before I attended one conference, there I came to know like in Pune there is a medical like a hospital. There, in a hospital that in a operation theater itself they have a one 3D printer. Whatever case, for example, people are coming with some problem on his skull, okay, something broken or something happened that they want to like rework. First of all, they scan the head, check the skull, what portion got broken, how to repair that one. That is until if you can't open the skull and do it, okay. You just scan it and check thoroughly, then you open it in a quick time, you can rework on that. Okay, so that kind of things are happening in America. Okay, in architecture, very like it's such a like a in architecture, if you see that maybe for some buildings and all, if you see the front side, they have a different kind of architecture. Okay, that okay, you can do it by civil engineering thing. You learn, you understand all this engineering related to thing, structural related properties, and then you construct it. But you want to realize it. For that, we need a 3D printer. So whatever they are planning, before finalizing the plan, they will 3D print it with the help of the this 3D printing technology, and then realize how it is looked like. In aerospace, yeah, like there are like many components are like it's like specific components. Okay, we can't do a mass production of those components. So those components I want to make, and then moreover in aerospace, if you see there are something is there like maybe you take a particular part in that. There are many small elements components are there in a particular part. Okay, so that I want to make by invents what they used to do. That particular part can be manufacturing different things. Okay, and then they will assemble. Finally, they'll get the part. So what it is it's not easy job to do. But now they like find the process. How can I make like the parts which consists of many components or elements in a single core? Additive manufacturing is like a good one to do that one. Okay. So then if you see the aerospace related products, they always compare conventionally how they have done, how they are doing with this additive manufacturing or the 3D printing, how many like components are they reduced. So many things are like kind of research people are doing it. Yeah, in education wise, yeah, people, like in the institute, they're developing their own 3D printers. Even in schools, it's happening now. Okay, because that 3D printer started in 1980s, but now it is the technology is matured like anything. It is keep on maturing day by day. It is now, see, maybe mark my words, in most of the houses we have a 2D printer. Okay, down the line, maybe after 10 years, we have a 3D printer in our home. Okay, some nut is gone, bolt is gone, or some part is broken. We will not go and buy from outside. We will everything print in our home. That will happen in like in a quick time. Okay, already some people are having it. I've seen there are people are having 3D printer in the home. Okay, that may happen in this thing. As well as in automotive industries, in electronic industries. In automotive industries, for example, I want to know because I want to keep the sensor in the region. Okay, the sensor is supposed to be there within the material. But keeping inside the material, it's very difficult. How can I keep within a product or that also within a material? But in additive manufacturing is giving a way for that. How to do? There are different processes are there. In one of the processes, we can place a sensor inside, and then what is the like condition of the automobile. Okay, like that. In electronics field also like that. There are many applications. If you see the right hand side here, like what are the companies are working on, how many corporates are working, what for. Okay, all are, see, it is not individually they are working, everything is well connected. Okay, for example, you take a GE Ventures. Okay, they have like connect with many other companies because each and every company may be concentrating on one particular application of that type. Okay, maybe that is needed for them, so they have an interconnection like that. Okay, so it's like mutual understanding and helping each other kind of policies. Okay, fine. I'll move on to the next slide now. Yeah. So my title says that a journey from a rapid prototyping to additive manufacturing. In the sense, we're supposed to know what is prototype. So before this prototype we goes inside, generally we use another term parallelly called model. So what is the difference between this model and prototype? That we should know. Okay. So generally, model we are using to understand some particular set of concepts. Okay. For example, if I want to know, okay, I'm just designing a cell phone. Okay, I want to know what overall size I can give for a cell phone. Okay, so then what I have to do? I'm not talking about functionality of the cell phone. Ultimately, what I'm talking is overall. Okay, because I want to handle it. It's not handling. I want to print that thing. Okay, so cell phone manufacturing is a different thing. But apart from that, I want to realize it. I want to fix the dimension for the cell phone, overall casing of the cell phone. The casing, what I will do is I will plan something. Okay, and then I'll 3D print it, and then I'll check it. So the 3D print, it is not functioning. It's just a model. I want to know overall size of it is, how it is look like. That I can realize. So it may be a different material or different size. It's no need to be same. For example, you see this figure. Okay, it's a like car model. It's a model only. It's not as it is like in a small size is not same as car. It's a smaller than the real time car. In that case, this is to understand that how this driverless car model is going to look like. If you make this by 3D printer, you can have I understand everything about that. Oh, these are the aspects we have to improve. These are the aspects we have to change in another way to get a better visibility or functionality kind of. Okay, so this is the model means it's not same as the real product. Okay, maybe different size, maybe it may not function also. Okay, but the another thing called prototype. The prototype is not like that. It's fully functional. Okay, it's a first product. Prototype, it's a first product. Okay, the product prototype, if you see, it may be like look like a model, but here what is the thing is it should be the same material, it should be in same size, it should be functional. Okay, then only I call that is called as prototype. Fine, the prototype it should be same material, same size, and it should be functional. Then only it's called prototype. Otherwise, it is called model. Okay, so without this model and prototype, we will not going to launch any new product. You aren't going to realize any new things. If you want to have a new development, ultimately this model and prototypes only helping us to finalize the final product. Okay, without model and prototype, because what happened, you make something, okay, theoretically say something, but when you come to the practical, it may give a different shape, different look, different functions. So you have to make this model and prototype. You realize first, then only you have to go launch a new product. Okay, with this model and prototype plays a major role in design. Okay, with this, I'll move to the next slide. So far, do you have any doubt related to my presentation or overall about 3D printing? I'm happy to answer. Audience, do you have any queries or something? Please. Otherwise, I'll move on to the next slide. Okay, I'm not hearing anything from the audience side. I'll move on to the next slide now. Okay, so now I said rapid prototyping. If I compare with basic the manufacturing processes, okay, or manufacturing principles, I said subtractive, formative, and additive. And then there is one more thing introduced here, the combined process. That means if you see here, additive we are doing, parallelly we are doing machining also. Okay, as I said, if I want to get a particular dimensional accuracy, if I want to get a particular geometrical feature, that is maybe not possible by additive manufacturing. But if I combine this separative process, I'll get accurate dimension as well as I'll get a good dimensional surface finish also. Okay, this is a combined one. Now, prototyping is okay. Okay, so you understand what is the difference between model and prototype. Okay, that is we discussed in the last slide. What is prototyping? Realizing the prototype, it's called prototyping. So the prototype, we say it is called rapid prototyping. I'm saying why it is rapid. So that means the prototype should be done in a rapid manner. So any one participant, please, can you just tell me why this prototyping should be done in rapid? Why this prototyping should be in a rapid manner? Yeah, please. Somebody is saying very good. Please proceed. Yeah, please. Audience.
Product has to come to the market as early as
Very
possible.
good.
So we
Thank you.
need to
Thank you.
first design based on the prototype.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your good answer. So the prototype should be realized very fast. Then only I can meet the market demand, because its market is very competitive. Okay, who is going to launch the product first? But it's not launching the product like any product. Launch is a better product. Okay, as compared to the other companies, my product is supposed to be good. It has to maybe more functionality. It should be in the less cost. There are many things. So to achieve that, only the rapid prototyping is necessary. Okay, this prototype model is not a new one. It is already existing. Okay, that I hope you guys you understand. Now let's see. Then that's the rapid prototype. Then generally this model and prototype how they are making. Yeah, before additive manufacturing comes to the picture, people generally used to do by subtractive process only. Okay, now they started to use additive manufacturing. So if I compare with this subtractive or formatting, if I do any product by additive, that the processing time is very less. Okay, so that this prototype can be realized in a very rapid manner. So rapid prototyping, ultimately what we are trying to say, it's called like additive manufacturing here. Okay, 3D printing or still we'll discuss a lot about that. Like I'll go inside about that right now. So I hope you understand that why this prototype should be realized in a rapid manner to meet the current market demand, and then we're supposed to be first in this heavy competitive market. That is ultimate thing. Okay, so what is the general timeline of the 3D printing? So where it started and everything. So see, the technology started in 1980s, but where we are in 2020, only 40 years. The 40 years, see the maturity of the technology, where it has reached. As I said initially, in the future, in each and every house, we'll have a 3D printer. Okay, that is the way we are going toward. See, the many programs are happening, workshops are happening, it is school people are teaching and people are developing their own 3D printers. Okay, like if you see, like research-wise also more research are happening around the world. Okay, you see, 1980s they started. It started from the Japan, like in Dr. Kodama only started with as a rapid prototyping tool. Okay, he tried to even patent it initially, but that was not happen due to because. Participants, please mute yourself. Participant, please mute yourself. Otherwise, I can't go further. I request the host, otherwise mute them, please. I think host has an option to mute the participants. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir, I request you to mute participants, please, because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, because they are maybe not aware about that. It's really hard time because 12:30 to 2, if I am giving a talk, it's a lunchtime, by the way. And then moreover, they have been attending this lecture, the thing, inaugural from maybe morning. So altogether, it's very difficult for them. Okay. Fine. So I'll now proceed now. Okay. Then 1980s it started, and 90s so slowly started to do the things. Then see if we then they slowly enter into the medical field. Whereas in the 2000 range, in medical, they started to show even a demonstration. Basically, they printed a kidney. See, operating a kidney is not easy. Okay, like kidney, such a complex structure. Okay, like now, if I want to know what has happened to that kidney, whether it is a functioning good thing or malfunctioning, or what kind of issues are there in the kidney, any diseases are there. So those things and all, yeah, we have to open and check. Okay, that is very difficult. Or otherwise you have to go for MRI or CT scan, so many things. But still, that also not reveal the things. Okay, I want to know how much volume of disease spread on that. So for that, what I have to do, I have to print that one and realize. So for printing the thing, there are colorful things also there, because people, if you see the kidney, they will print in one color, whereas the disease they will print in another color. So that the same year, if you see that in 2000 series, that and the color printing also evolved. So that also they started to use. And then the prosthetic leg also they made by that. And then in 2010 onwards, like if you see, especially in this year decade, people started to use for automobile things. Okay, that they made a 3D printed car. Okay, they made a even like 3D printed house. Okay, prosthetic jaws they made printed and implanted even. Okay, then the people started to talk about 4D printing. Anybody can say what is 4D printing? 3D printing is okay. What is 4D printing? Anybody? Participants like one or two can unmute yourself, please come forward and discuss. I will feel happy then. So then it's a homework question. If you are not going to say, then you have to take it as a homework and answer to me later. Okay, the printing pizza. Now the food salad is started to print by 3D printer. Okay, say for example, you want to make pizza, or otherwise you want to make any even South Indian items. There is a thing, you develop a setup. Okay, you know the methodology. Use the thing, you print it like that. Okay, dosa, instead of making, you print a dosa hereafter. Things will happen. Okay, let's move to the next one. So we just understood what is prototype, what is maybe model, and then what is the role of additive manufacturing or 3D printing in the making the prototypes, and then what are the applications of that. So those things we have discussed so far. But in this slide, it is a very basic related to 3D printing. So how to do this 3D printing? Ultimately, what I want a final product, okay, 3D product. If I want to get a 3D product, I need a data for that. So this, like in the name itself, it is printing. A printing like a layer by layer printing. That means they are making the component by layer printing. If I want to make a layers, for example, I want to make a cylinder. Okay, the cylinder I want to make in 10 layers. Okay, that means like a 10 layers. If I do, then I will get a cylinder. The 10 layers, if I divide, there are 10 layers, 9 interfaces. 9 interfaces. Okay, so all those 10 layers I want to print properly. If I want to print layer like 10 layers, first of all I have to make one layer. If I want to make a one layer, how to make a one layer? I have to start from the F point and then make it as a line, and then make line as a track. From the track you move to the layer. From the one layer to the second layer you move. Like that it has to go. In this 10 layers by 9 interfaces are there. Okay. This is the overall about that. Why I'm saying about interfaces, I'll tell you later. But please remember that when you make number of layers -1, it shows the number of interfaces. Okay. Now, what is the basic? Ultimately, what I want to make a 3D product. We know very well that is a by layer printing thing. So if I want to do that, even I said it starts from the point. Okay. So now I have a tool, 3D printed tool that I have to do. Okay. The 3D printed tool has to move. I want to direct the 3D printer to move layer by layer. How to instead that to do? I need something like a mechanized thing. Okay, for that what I have to use? I will use some CNC controlled thing. So CNC control will tell that okay, which way that the deposition will start, because layer means you are making a layer by depositing, okay, or melting. That we'll see in depth principle later. Okay, now I'm considering only depositing. Depositing started with the point moved to the line moved to the track moved to the layers to the 10 layers. If I want to do, I want to insert the deposition thing, tool to deposit. How to insert? I need the 10 layer configuration. How to get that? That is get from the real model. So if you have a real model already or thing, you scan it, get the 3D image of that. From the 3D image, you slice it, okay, to the layers, and then give that data to STL file thing. That STL file you have to give to the machine. The machine will then print it. So this starts from here. Ultimately, if I want, I need a 3D image. That 3D image called CAD file. First, step 1. And step 2, that CAD file you have to convert into a machine language which additive manufacture machine can understand. So there it says STL file conversion you have to do. That means CAD model is a single file. Okay, that is a only consider overall it's a one layer, but one layer we can't make. You have to make layer by layer. That is you are doing in STL file conversion. You think okay, tessellation we are doing it. That file, whatever you converted, that you transfer the machine. Okay, so now in machine you have to set up the parameter in machine setup. Once machine setup parameter is set up, you switch on the machine, it will build. Once you build, you remove the part from the machine. So once you removed, and then obviously sometimes you have to do post processing on that. Okay, for example, you're doing welding. After doing welding, what this is like around the weld, you can see some metal deposited over there, correct? That's supposed to be removed. Okay, that kind of secondary operation you have to do. In SCAD casting also, if you see that is produced very rough surface, that also should be machined. Then only you'll get a good surface finished cast out of it. So like that, here also you have to do a secondary processes that called post processing. Finally, what intended for that application you can realize. Okay, that is the thing here over. So here, that is why I said 3D modeling you have to get. So 3D modeling how to get, this CAD model how to get. Okay, first CAD model you have to draw if you know the dimension. If you doesn't know the dimension, what are you supposed to do? You have a model product or something, you do the reverse engineering on that. So reverse engineering means there is a product or a part or a component, you just scan it 3-dimensionally and then get the data out of it. Once you get the data, from the data you can develop the 3D model. So once 3D model get, you check the 3D model file, whether it is like file is proper. Okay, is there anything hole can be prepared or anything, or because if you want to do, there are something is there in 3D printing. It's not just like that you can do. There are some in-depth things are there. Maybe down the line, people who are going to deliver the lecture, they will address a lot. For example, here I like to say one thing. Okay, you want to print something, there is a hole inside. When you go for layer by layer printing, there is a hole inside. Okay, how to maintain that hole. Okay, there is something is overhanging structures are there. How to print in 3D printer. So those things and all you should know. If it is overhanging structure is there, you have to give a support structure for that. Okay, so that you have to work it out, prepare the data for that. Once you data prepared with all, then send the data to the AM machine. Then AM machine it will start to produce a part. Once it is produced, then it will be sent to the post-processing. The post-processing, many things depends on the process. Maybe sometimes you have to do a heat treatment. Sometimes you have to do surface finishing operation on that. Sometimes you have to do extra powder, extra material that some attached with that should be removed. Okay, so this is the overall of 3D printing. Starts from the CAD file, convert to the STL file, then send to the machine, allow the machine to print. After printing, take it to the post-processing, then use for the final application. This is an overall picture about additive manufacturing in depth. I'll move to the next slide. So this is the one typical product they made it. Okay, this is the STL file. They got CAD file from the STL file. Then they can send in the machining platform. This is all virtual they're checking first. If you see this one, this is the generating the virtual thing. This is a thing parallel started to make on the virtual platform. See, these are the things are extra over, like in the same overhanging things. This overhanging structures you have to, because if I want to deposit any material here, okay, what happened directly will come down. That's supposed to be arrested there itself. For that, I need a support material. So first of all, you do virtually printing. You do virtually check, and then wherever you support is needed, you generate the support. Then send the parameter to set the parameter, and then you send to the machine. Machine will print. You'll get the product, remove from the working chamber. And then you just validate the whatever the print you made. Okay, so then now you have to measure finally with this like some very accurate metrology things. Here the CMM is used for measuring the dimension of the printed product. Okay, fine. So now a very interesting thing about the additive manufacturing and 3D printing, how to classify that. Ultimately, what I said initially, deposition. Okay, that is just I said. But now this process can be classified based on the material what we are using it. One way is there are 3 different forms of raw material using. One is liquid form, another is solid form, and third one is powder form. Okay, so this is I'm expecting an answer from the audience. I may keep it here. I'll go one by one. Okay, there is a liquid form. Okay, how can I get the product from liquid to solid? What I have to do liquid to, if I want to get a product from liquid to solid, what I have to do? Because we studied already basics. Okay, anybody can tell, I want to make a product from the liquid. Okay, then finally make it as a solid. What I have to do? Audience, please.
Just remove the heat energy.
Removing heat energy.
We will provide heat, sir.
Freezing.
Solidification we can do.
Lithography.
Cooling.
Yeah, thank you. Many things are coming up. Okay, you're like most of the thing. What happens? You are comparing with the casting. I understand. Okay, here it is not removing the heat. Here you have to add the heat. Okay, the curing there are generally it's called curing. Okay, what happens? It's a liquid. From the liquid, if I want to move the solid, I have to change the phase. That's all. The phase how you are going to change. Okay, in a casting we are removing the heat, whereas here we are adding the heat. So that means you are passing the laser. That is like UV rays, okay, ultraviolet rays we are adding to that, and then what happens is whatever liquid is there, that liquid we have photoinitiators, so that will react to that and then it will start to cure. So that is a way one process can be done. We will discuss this little later inside. Okay, before going to that, I want to get from your mind. Okay, that is one thing. Very nice, thanks for that answer. Okay, let's go to the next material. What is the next material? Solid base. Okay, anybody, can you tell me from the solid how can I get the, already it's solid, I want to get a one more solid product. What I have to do? What we know is machining. Okay, good. So what you may suggest other way, please remember that you are doing layer by layer. Okay, now you tell me what you have to do.
Sir, wire arc additive manufacturing.
That is
Layer by layer.
yeah, that
Layer
is
by
one way I
layer.
appreciate that. But here one way I can, yeah, maybe I have to say it is in solid form. I don't like to change the form. Wire arc additive, what happens? Wire you take and then again you liquidify, then only you are allowed to solidify. Okay, that is
Yes, sir.
two-phase transfer as there. Now my question is from solid to solid. I don't want to make it as a liquid in between. Any choice from participants? Good.
So what about powder, sir? Powder based additive manufacturing.
It is there. I will come. And the next is powder only, correct?
Yeah.
Here what happens, it's like you take a solid sheets, okay? The sheets you have to stack one over another, okay? Attach together, by bond it together, then you get a product. This is called laminated object manufacturing. We'll see that also a little later. But before going to that, I want to have idea from your mind. Then, thanks for bringing the word powder. How to get it from the powder?
Welding, sir, welding. Can we add?
Yeah, welding. There, that is, I'll say it is not exactly welding. That is called consolidation. I'll explain that one. Okay, but now we'll go for a powder. From the powder, I want to take a, like powder is in, powder metallurgy already powder metallurgy, you will get a porous product. But here you have a powder, but again from the powder I want to get a solid product. What I supposed to do? Anybody?
The selective laser melting.
Actually you're going to the word, that process but I'm asking you to think what is the physics of that. Okay, so your powder is there. One way is melt the powder and then allow to solidify, you'll get it. So how to melt? Here layer by layer. Melting means it's not like put in a furnace, melt all powder together. No, right? It's not possible. I have to supply the heat energy in a controlled fashion. Okay, that is the way the thing has to evolve. Okay, so now with that I'll just show here. I'll go and discuss more about that. Okay, so now you see here liquid base. Based on the liquid phase, they are talking further like fused deposition modeling, stereolithography, polyjet. These are the processes. Solid base means they are talking about laminated object manufacturing. Whereas the powder base, we have two types, melting and binding. From that again further process classified. Okay, we will see this all. See energy, whatever they're using, laser energy they are using, electron beam they are using, again laser also they're using. Okay, so see, this is a way you have to study the process, and only we can do a research on that. Maybe most of the people are like researchers or maybe faculty members are there who are interested to pursue their career in the 3D printing research. Yeah, so I'm just want to discuss in that direction only. Okay, I'll move to the slide. So these are the 7 basic processes. Like vat polymerization, powder bed fusion, binder jetting, material jetting. Okay, heat lamination, material extrusion, direct energy deposition, hybrid. Okay, these are the 7 processes. Okay, like I will do one thing. I'm not going to cover in this. I'll go process one by one in the coming slides. Okay, there are 7 processes I want to put in your mind. As per ASTM standard, there are 7 processes. Let's start one by one. Okay, I'll explain in depth as later. Okay, let's start with the vat polymerization. If you see here, that means, as I said, your raw material is liquid. Finally, I need a product like this. Okay, final product like this. So how to do? I have to like solidify that liquid. That's all. So here, since it's a polymer, I have to like supply heat energy to that. Then allow to cure. I'll get a product. But again, problem here is not a single go. It's like a layer by layer. How to make a layer by layer in that? Okay. So now that is a control. So again, that also I said, even though it is layer by layer, I can't make like a single layer also at a single stretch. Even a single layer also, I have to start from the point to line to track, then only I can do a single layer. In that case, I want to have a energy source supposed to be very controlled in fashion. Okay, which energy sources will do? Okay, for example, I'll take this liquid. If I keep it in a furnace, what happens in the furnace? Everything will solidify. Then where I will get a layer by layer. So now that is the way it has happened now. In a liquid, they had added a photo initiators. What happens whenever you add this photo initiators to that, you use the laser source, UV rays. That UV rays, whenever is falling on the this liquid, what happened? Started to cure that one. So now laser, it's a small source, okay, small in size. I can have a controlled thing. So if I want to make a layer, I have to start from the dot, okay, from the spot or like a point. The point I'll start from the laser. I'll pass the laser light, point, second point, third point, fourth point, like that. I can do point by point. 1 point, if I do, I'll get a line. One line is over, I can track. I can like scan that thing in a another track. Like that, it will go in a track by track. I'll get a single layer. So that is the beauty of the process. Now in this, if you see, here what happened, first layer you made, okay, this first layer you made. If I want to do the next layer, what I supposed to do? See here, you see this is happening on the platform. The platform is connected to some like mechanism, okay. This mechanism only helping that platform to move up and down, okay. Ultimately, what the products are happening in the top only, okay. That means you have a liquid at the top layer of the liquid only things are happening. If I want to move the second layer, then I have to push this platform down. So how much layer thickness you are deciding, based on that you see the platform mechanism. I have to have a platform mechanism in such a way that your layer, I said correct, 10 layers. Each layer say 10 micron. Okay, I have to move only platform to 10 micron. Then think about this platform elevation mechanism. I should have a mechanism which is only giving a resolution of 10 micron movement. So there are many interrelated interesting things are there in this particular any process you take. So what happened? One layer is over. You have to push to next layer level, say 10 micron. The liquid will get filled on the top. Okay, then I have to use the blade kind of thing. Doctor's blade we say. With help of that, I have to level the liquid on that, and then with help of the loser, I have to start from the point to line to track. Then I'll get a second layer. Like that, layer by layer, I make and finally get a product. So in this, if I want to do research, what are the things are there? So now light, if I am using, what type of power of the light I'm using it? UV light only I said. What is the laser light power? What is the speed I'm doing it? What is the depth of focus? Because see, whatever laser I'm using, the laser should not cure completely, correct? The cure is supposed to only that layer thickness. There is a twist over there. The layer thickness only should be cured. It should not cure more than that. That you have to optimize. So it is not easy as we think. Okay, maybe we can teach just like that. But when going in depth to do research, the power of the laser at the what rate this laser is supposed to pass, everything should be counted. Then resin parameters, if you take whatever resin, the viscosity of the resin also plays a role. I said leveling of the resin. Already I talked about the platform. What is the chemical composition? Those parameters should be counted for that. Printing procedure, what speed it is working, what kind of orientation you are using, what is the layer thickness. All those things are playing a lot. Then if you see, there are two approaches, top-down approaches, bottom-up approaches. Okay, generally this micro related features, they are working with the bottom-up approach. Okay, from the bottom of the layer they'll start and then they'll go to the top of the product. Whereas here they will start from the top to down. Okay, that is the thing. This is one of 7 processes as per the STM. Let's move on to the next. This is called powder bed fusion. Sorry, yeah, this next one is called powder bed fusion. Your raw material is now powder. There are 2 options for you from printing, making a product by powder. One is you have a powder in a solid form, make it as liquid and then solidify. So now this can be done in two ways. You spread the powder and pass the heat source to that, or otherwise you send the heat source and powder together and deposit it. Okay, here what happens in powder bed fusion, powder spreaded on the bed on a platform. Then what you have to do, you have to supply the heat energy again layer by layer. That heat energy is supposed to be very controlled manner. So what are the energy sources have, and then moreover that energy whatever you're going to give, it has to be small in size and it has to melt a powder. So you know what is the melting point of the powder. Okay, it is a maybe is a polymer or metal, it's a melting point. So that you should know. Now what you have to do, now you have to take that laser and then our electron beam or laser beam, even plasma also is coming up now. You take that energy source, controlled fashion, you started to, as I said, dot to line, line to track, and then layers it. So now if we see that there is a platform spread out on that, then here you see this laser is traveling. Whenever it's travel, it is just making the prints like this. It's a dog bone shape. They are making the tensile strength sample, okay, to measure the tensile strength of the additively manufactured component they're doing. So there's a platform like that. I said that a platform is supposed to be filled with the powder. So how to get the powder to the platform? This mechanism they are using. Okay, there are like two reservoir kind of things that filled with the powder. They have a piston arrangement. Based on your requirement, the piston will push the powder. Okay, if you want to push only one layer, that one layer amount only that platform will be raised. So again, this is also interesting. How much layer you want, and so here another interesting is the powder may act as a support material for the structure sometimes. Okay, so that is the beauty of powder bed fusion. So again, if you go inside, what are the parameters? How to do your research? As I said, laser power, spot size, pulse duration. You can use continuous power, you can use a pulse power also. So pulse laser, continuous laser, depends on the parameter. You can find out which is best and what is optimized condition. Scanning parameter. Here, the powder bed fusion, these parameters all are not independent. All are dependent on each other. For example, scan speed, scan spacing, scan pattern. Scan speed you take. I'm using, I said the power, one power, okay, one set of energy I fixed. I started to scan it. I'm scanning slowly, I'm scanning fast. Okay, if I do slowly, each and every powder, how much of energy it will get? Like that, if I'm doing very fast, each and every powder, like how much energy it will get. So now the condition is, power is same, your scanning speed, you are doing like two conditions I'm giving. One is it is going fast, another it is doing very slowly. In which case the powder will get more energy for melting, either in the fast scanning or in a slow scanning. Please you say like which scanning it will give, fast or slow, more energy for melting. So please participants. Hello, am I audible?
Slow.
Slow, yeah, very nice, good, very nice. Because the scan is, that means if it is slow, that amount of energy interacting with that powder is more. That should be realized first. So that's why I'm trying to say the parameters not independent, all are dependent. So the research is very, very difficult to like finish with only one thing. So you have to have this kind of like again, the physics of the process is still very complex. It's not in a single physics, it's a multidisciplinary thing. So you have to have interdisciplinary physics related to that. You understand and you evolve. Each and every time there are many new things are coming up. Okay, now powder related. What is the powder size? What kind of shape it is? What kind of distribution? Okay, let's this question I'll ask. When you say powder particles, we say average particle size is 35 micron. What is the meaning of it? Anybody? Generally, powder particle size you have to say 35 micrometer, correct? Why average particle size 35 micrometer? Why average it comes to the or mean size? Why these words are using with the powder size? I hope you understood the question. When I say powder particle, the size generally people used to say average particle size of the powder is say 35 micrometer. I did not ask average, but people always say with the average. Why?
Because some of the powder particles may collide, otherwise it forms a clump.
This is okay, but that is while doing the process, you are near to the answer. Okay, the thing is, you can't make a powder in a single size. That's a problem. You always get a range of size. That's why the distribution comes to the picture. Okay, then size is not a single size, it's an average size. That's why people are always reporting average size. Okay, another thing is shape of the powder. You see the shape of the powder, it's not like a perfect spherical shape. Okay, but your process needs that kind of shape. So there are so that physics itself, powder bed density. In a powder metallurgy, you might have said apparent density, bulk density, like that. Here, what is the powder bed density? What layer thickness you are preferring? Because your layer thickness is going to dictate your platform elevation mechanism also, and then the same layer thickness is going to play with your laser energy also. Because the laser energy, I'm working on fourth layer. Whatever energy I'm giving for on the fourth layer, that energy goes to the first layer. What happens to my product? It loses shape. Okay, I want to give only amount of energy to fourth layer majorly. I don't need to even go to third layer just like that. Okay, I have to have a controlled fashion. So the layer thickness, laser energy, the platform elevation mechanism, everything interrelated. Without that, we can't go with only one thing. Okay, and powder related parameters, if you take, already that is only we are discussing. Layer thickness, material properties, again that are all different. Again, what happened when I do the powder perfusion, powder spreaded on the platform, we are not using everything. Wherever we need, for example, here also, if you see the tensile strength sample, around that completely covered with powder, but only one particular area only working. For example, in between the two samples, there is a powder, correct? The powder history now got changed because that received some heat. Then that microstructure got changed. The property of that particular thing got completely changed. So temperature related parameters, now powder bed has some temperature, powder feeder has some temperature, because the powder bed should have a temperature. Otherwise what happens, there is a huge temperature gradient that results in the distort the final sample. So the temperature gradient in the process should be maintained in a very less level. So that's why you are heating sometime powder, we are heating the powder bed, powder feeder also heated. Why? Means you have to maintain the less temperature gradient, otherwise it leads to a distortion. Okay. So another process called binder jetting, again it's also interesting. So here what happens, the raw material is spread out on the platform, whereas you have to jet the binder only. Okay, this is the interesting physics we have to talk before going further in that. How it is that you have particles. Okay, now your raw materials are particles. Okay, now I want to get a shape out of it. Okay, for example, metal particles are there. From the metal, I want to get. It's an example I'm taking. Okay, I want to get things from the metal particles. But metal particles, I have to apply more energy to melt. I don't have that much capability of the machine. What you can do, you add binder to that. You add a good binder to that. Okay, or in a polymer itself, you take polymer with high melting point. That I don't have energy to melt. Then I'll take a binder which is having a less melting point. I will add that. Now my raw material is combination of binder and main powder. Okay. Then what I'll do? I will use the energy. The binder, what happens? The binder now absorb the energy, melt, okay, and allow it unsolidify. But my main particles are not melted. That is in the same condition only. But binder particles are melted and get the shape to that. Once that shape, after receiving, I will get a skeleton of the product. Once I receive the skeleton from the 3D printer theme, I'll take it to the furnace, melt that one, remove the binder. I will get an overall again highly porous structure with the required material, main material. I'll take it to that. I fill the porous structure with another material, maybe by infiltration or impregnation process, or otherwise I will apply more load to that, consolidate that whole porous structure into a very dense component. So that is the way the binder is using. I'm just justifying why binder. So now the powder is there and then binder is there. What you have to do, powder is spreaded, you just jet the binder wherever you want to get a shape. Okay. Then it will make a 3D product out of it. After that, as I said, you have to put in a furnace, remove the binder, add some extra material for the get a unporous structure. Okay. So in that case, if you see here, this yellow color thing, then they're passing the binders, spraying it. Okay. So here, powder particle has a powder packing density. What is the green strength of that? Distribution, powder flowability, wettability, all parameters coming to the picture. Binders, if we go, the binder Reynolds number, Weber numbers, because binders you are just flowing it, correct? Throwing it. Printing saturation, effect of pore size, all those things you have to know. Here device parameter, as we said, the layer thickness, binder setting saturation level, build orientation effect, drop generation. Yeah, the binder drop generation, again, it is interesting physics. What kind of drop, how to pass the drop, how to jet the drop, all those things. This comes under the category of binder jetting. Another is material jetting. Okay, it is more or less same. Instead of what? Binder is there on the platform now, you jet the material. You jet the material. That is the thing here. Okay, here that, as I said, like a droplet, whatever you make, that affects a lot. So that physics we have to know what frequency it is coming out, what kind of temperature you are using. So what is the viscosity, all those things, everything you can work it out. Okay, here is possible material gradient, you can, multiple material you can feed, because you see that, okay, they have different feeders are there, with the help of that you can make. So this is a one good example. They made a human heart, okay, model of human heart by material jetting only. You see that it is a transparent, you can see the veins and everything. If see, for teaching purpose it's good. Even you think a doctor is like in a practical thing, but you can teach the medical professionals also. You can see the veins and real time. You feel like a person's thing, kidney you take it or heart you take it, then you just print it like this. Okay, you will get a very good model. You can understand a lot about that. That's why the operation and all, before they're doing, they will print like this and then realize that where they're supposed to operate. Unnecessary cut and all they will not do if they learn properly in this. Okay, that is why material getting. It's a fourth process.
Sir, please, presentation is not in the center, no?
Sorry?
Presentation not visible. That is in the side only, not in the main window.
Not in the main window.
Yeah,
Oh, you did not say. Now only you are saying. Sorry, I would have got. Okay, I'll do it again. Okay, I'll just stop. I'll stop sharing and then.
Okay. Okay.
Sharing. Okay, 1 minute. This anyway to do like this only. It is not allowing me to do in another way. Okay, present now in the window. My 3D printing share now. Okay. So is it in slide mode or presentation mode now? Hello.
Okay, sir. Okay, now okay.
Oh, how long time it has been like that?
Near about 10 minutes, sir.
Oh, okay. Maybe I did not press.
Yeah, you were talking about the problem, no?
Yeah, maybe unknowingly I might have pressed the key or something. Okay, thanks for that.
Okay.
Thanks for
Okay.
that.
Welcome.
Okay, so this is called laminated object manufacturing. Okay, as I said, okay, this is a very interesting thing. Here you have a sheets, okay, like whatever you are doing in sheet metal, that kind of sheets only. From the sheet, I want to get a final product. Okay, as I said, yeah, you have to join. So I like one option is gluing. You can apply adhesive and get it. Another option is thermal bonding. You apply heat and get it. Third option is you clamp it. That's enough. You can get a product out of it. Ultrasonic consolidation. But it's not welding. Somebody raised it's not welding. Okay. So now what is the thing is, here see, these are the two layers. Okay, these are the two layers. Okay, one layer is there, another layer. You have to apply the load to that with the help of the sonotrode. So ultrasonic consolidation means you are applying the load in ultrasonic through waves. Okay, it is like acting up to a particular frequency and then a particular amplitude, and apply the load to the layer so that everything you can consolidate. Okay, now what happens? You take 4 layers. Okay, 4 sheets, 4 layers, place it, apply the load, okay, bond it. Take 4 layers, apply the load, bond it, like that it will go. So now, you know raw material sheet, and another thing you know, there are 4 ways to do this bonding. Another interesting thing is, I said 4 layers you join, but what you do is another thing here. This is like a standard sheet shapes. If you take, what you have to do, make first 4 layers bonding, after that remove the unwanted things. Remove, for example, here if you see the diagram, this is the shape I want to get. I hope you are able to see my cursor. The cursor, if you see that this is a part I want to, the remaining all unnecessary. What I have to do, from the sheet I can remove that one. How to remove? There's a laser. Laser cupping is there. Laser cubing they say, or laser cupping they say. What you have to do, you have to just make a small cut. Once 4 layers bonded, remove the unwanted things. You'll have only bonded. Again, go for 4 layers bonding. Remove unwanted things. Get it. So now 8 layers. Another 4 layers, 12 layers, another 4 layers, 16 layers, like that you have to build. Okay, here there are 2 principles. One is bond then form first, and second thing form then bond. Okay, what is the meaning of it? The form means first I form the project, like in the sense, if I want this kind of shape, for example, I want a dog bone shape, I'll cut the samples in dog bone shape only. All sheets are in dog bone shape. I'll stack it. That means I formed it and then I'll bond it. That is called form then bond. Another process called bond then form. That means I'll get a rectangular sheet. I will bond it first and then I will cut to by laser, I'll cut to the shape of dog bone. That is called bond then form. So these are very interesting process in the laminated object manufacture. If you see here, like process parameters are there, like oscillation amplitude, normal force, sonotro travel speed, pre-temperature. As I said, it is ultrasonic consolidation running in a particular amplitude. Okay, that you have to apply some load to that. That load also plays a major role. At what rate this sonotrode is traveling on that. All those, and then pre-temperature also important. The base plate temperature, pre-temperature. With help of that, you can do. Okay, this is the one of the process in the process. Another is very interesting thing is in most of the institutes, or most of the people are even doing a research on this FDM, fused deposition model. Okay, the material is like extruding. Raw material is in a solid form, that is in a wire form. Now wire form to, I want to get a solid form again. This here what we are doing is the wire we are making it a semi-solid. From the semi-solid we are making a solid. So the semi-solid, why we are making this? Once it has become a semi-solid, with the help of the nozzle you are squeezing to the shape whatever we want. Okay, that's why it's called extrusion, material extrusion, category of extrusion. So here again, interesting thing is we have a build orientation. Okay, what build the orientation I have to make, what layer thickness I have to follow, what is the sprint speed I have to follow, infill density. It's an interesting point here. If I want to make a layer by layer product, for example, I'm making only model. Okay, I want to know one particular outer shape only. I don't want to know whatever is there inside. For that, what I'll do, I go with infill density. I can not bother about how much infill is there inside, how much material is filled. I'll reduce as much as possible to know only the outer shape. So that option is there. Nozzle diameter also plays a role. Infill patterns are there. How to fill inside, what kind of pattern. There are some kind of different methodology of scanning, raster angle, raster with air gap. So all those things you can play around. And then, as I said, temperature plays a role, extrusion temperature and print bed temperature. That also you have to know. Okay, the next. Yeah, so the last one is the direct energy deposition. As I said, yeah, it is like complement to the powder bed fusion. Here, if you see that raw material is in the powder form, the raw material is now converted to a liquid form. From the liquid, again, you have to solidify. So how to do that? Initially, the powder bed fusion you spread the powder, whereas here you have to pass the laser and the powder together, and then what happens? Powder and laser meet in the one point. There it will meet and deposit on the platform. This is called direct energy deposition. I'm depositing directly. Okay, that's called direct. So that in powder bed fusion we are using most amount of powder, but here with the less amount of powder itself you can get the product. In a powder bed fusion, for example, in one machine, if I want, I need at least 20 kg powder to work on. Okay, so now based on this process, if you see, there are many input parameters required: laser power, laser beam spot size, powder feed rate, scanning speed, carrier gas. What we have to that should be done in a particular gas environment only, so that it will not oxidize, all those things. Clad angle, feedstock properties, layer dimension, this thing. So somebody said that wire arc metal additive, that also comes under this category only. Okay, so see, this is a wire arc thing only. This is a powder bed. They both are comes in the same category. Direct energy deposition. Okay. So these are the some basic process of additive manufacturing. Now I'll just talk this journey. Okay. Whatever the journey, like I to say, maybe you think about that. I said that we started from the model and prototype definitions, correct? So the prototyping should be realized in a very fast manner. That's why the rapid prototyping come to the picture. Okay, so now that's why this like either model or prototype can be done in very fast way with rapid. After that, the technology, what happens in initial days while making this model or prototype, mostly we made everything on polymer material. Okay. And then slowly what happened, this technology started to address the repairing issues. Okay, so but what the repairing is happening in a polymer material, maybe you can go with a new polymer, but material now very costly. For example, turbine blade is there. There we are using a super alloy. Super alloy is very costly, and processing a super alloy is not easy. So if turbine blade, the tip is got broken, then what generally people they used to replace it. Otherwise, the technology called laser cladding has come for repairing. Now this additive manufacturing is being used to repair the gas turbine blades. Okay, so that is a way that first we started to use for modeling and prototyping, then slowly moved to make the repairing things by additive manufacturing or 3D printing. Then third, what happened slowly, they started to use for tooling. Okay, initially in one of the slides I told that the tool means don't consider as a single point control. The tool means here is for casting, mold is a tool. For forming, die and mold is a tool. For like machining, single point cutting tool is a tool. So like here, this rapid tooling means one is you make the product directly by additive manufacturing one way. Okay. Another way is the casting and the forming is there. If I help that process, okay, if I aid that process, so that the process can be done very fast. For example, casting. What is the problem in casting? You have to make a die. Die generally takes long time. Forming, die making is a long time. If I make the die by additive manufacturing, then it is very nice. You reduce the time also a lot. So what happens now? If you make tools, that means dies and molds by additive manufacturing, that is called rapid tooling. Then the thing people started to use for making dies. So now this additive manufacturing helping casting process, forming process in another way. It is boosting that process also. Now what happens nowadays, like as I said, polymer is started, people started to export ceramics, and then people move to the metals. Okay, now you see most of the research are happening in the metal. Initially, this research started with polymer, then people started to make the product by ceramics, and finally now metal. And moreover, it started with making a model and prototype. But now what happened, not only the model and prototype, the final products are you have started to make by this process, and then you are using it in a real-time application. That is why this process, it's called additive manufacturing. So now I justified that why that name 3D printing and additive manufacturing got changed. Okay, 3D printing, it's a principle-based printing thing. That's why instead of maybe everybody is using printer, correct, in your institute or in college or in your home. So the paper printer, it's printing only 2D, correct? The same printing technology, but you are getting a final product. Okay, that is called 3D. Okay, that's why 3D printing has come. Started with the polymer basically, then moved to the ceramic. Finally, now metal we address. That also not only model and prototype, final products we have started to realize on that. That's why it is called additive manufacturing. Started with the rapid prototyping, slowly moved on to 3D printing. Finally, now this process named as additive manufacturing. Okay, so I hope I just justified the journey from rapid prototyping, additive manufacturing with this much explanation. I have a few more things to discuss because like I prepared in that way, but I think I'll try to wind up now because you have another session maybe in a quick time. I think it's a better I can wind up right now. So I have to leave some time for questionnaire so that I can answer to your questions. The questions don't restrict with only my presentation. You can please discuss more also. I'm ready to answer to that. Okay. Yeah, sir. Over to you, sir. I'm just done. Thank you. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I'm done.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I'm done. Hello.
Sir, everything finished?
Yeah, no, I have to go, but already I have to present more, but already it is about.
Okay, sir. We are fully engaged, sir. Very nice, sir. Valuable talk about the particular topic, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to hear
if you ask participant,
questions or something is there,
yes, sir.
please, audience, please allow them
Yes,
to.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Now it's to allow for the audience questions, sir.
If you don't have question, there are two means. One is you did not understand anything. Other means you understood everything. Okay. So that's why I said don't restrict with only this. Please ask questions whatever there in your mind, because I'm working in this field for past maybe 5 to 6 years. So may I can share my experience related to your doubt. Anything. Otherwise, I will ask questions.
If unmute.
Yeah, please
the
unmute
mic,
all, sir. Please unmute all, sir.
person it knows.
Audience, please unmute yourself and ask questions. It's a question and answer session.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
In a 3D printing, what are the metal 3D?
Yeah.
So what are the possibilities in metal 3D?
Yeah, we are doing with aluminum alloys, inconel alloys. Okay. So now what is the thing is aluminum melting point is okay, but inconel melting point is high. So if you have a laser capable enough to melt that inconel like super alloy, then it is good. So now titanium based alloy also people are working. So there are many researchers, and obviously you can work on copper, okay, brass, all those things. But only one thing is you're supposed to have a laser to have energy to melt the metals. Okay. So you go through the one small hint I like to say. Overall, want to know this kind of questions, answer, and all. What you have to do is you have to go for a recent review paper on additive manufacturing of metals. If you put a review paper like review, state of the art, these are the words you have to use. State of the art or review paper on additive manufacturing of metals, so that you will get an idea, overall idea what is happening. So the review paper always gives the idea that what is happening currently in a major like areas in the particular. Okay. I hope I answered your question, please.
Yes.
Yeah, please. Like I would like to hear many questions from the audience. Still a few minutes are there, we can make use of it.
Sir, which ASTM standard should we follow for additive manufacturing?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, additive manufacturing related standards are coming up. Okay, whatever for tensile strength, whatever you are making, we are following the general standard, whatever been told in ASTM. Okay, but for additive manufacturing, now that is another interesting area to work it out. Okay, for example, in aerospace is there. In aerospace, what they are saying, if something they want to use for the flying, okay, that component is supposed to satisfy that rules and regulation. For that, they have a separate board. So again, the problem is still in additive manufacturing, we are working on standardized a thing. Because whatever product you made by additive manufacturing, that has to fulfill the criteria. But shear in additive manufacturing, there are shear load issues are there. Okay, so because making a layer by layer, you are applying the load like opposite to each other in the layer direction. What happened? There is a chance the layer subjected to shear load or shear stress, and then it will fail. So that kind of issues are there, you have to overcome. So standardization of this, it is happening. It is not like fulfilled in this on Assam standard as per the ASTM standard, this one. But ASTM started to develop the standards for generalize the processes. Okay, that is available particularly, but number wise and all we have to go through. But there are some standards for ASTM things related to additive manufacturing, but not well established. It is happening now parallelly.
Apart from ASTM standard, do we have some other standards as well?
Especially for additive manufacturing, best of my knowledge, ASTM the main one. Remaining all, what is the thing, only for testing purpose they're doing. Okay, not for standardizing the process. Okay, whatever casting is there. Okay, all those things are standardized by ASTM only. Okay, there are something is there like in additive manufacturing, but product point of view use, yeah, industry is having their own standard. Automobile industry, they are having, see, in aerospace, as I said, for flying, they have some certain criteria that they just to like fulfill. Then only they will have one standard for that. So that is a big thing. Even I heard from other, since I'm in this area, I heard from other people that they want like collaborate with the people and establish the standards also. Okay, especially for additive manufacturing. So mainly for anything, ASTM only for process point of view, but product point of view depends on the industries. They are having their own standard. As I said, example, aerospace. Automobile, they have their SAE standards, correct? They have to follow that one, kind of. Okay, like, am I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, please. I'm happy that people are asking question. Please, actually, because we are not seeing each other, correct? So when you're asking a question, that is only giving a boost to me that, okay, I've done a good justification for talk. Okay, please ask at least 2 questions so that we can wind up. I need 2 questions from the audience.
So what is the impact of NDT in additive manufacturing, sir?
Very nice. See, it is always like a big thing actually, because in additive manufacturing, we are not getting a 100% dense product. There is a pores in that. Okay. Again, it is a multi-physics involved. We can't bring the category of casting, say melting and solidification. Okay. So otherwise, you can't bring the category of welding because laser is passing and then melting the material and getting. So there are many things are there. Now the defects point of view also, what are the defects are there? The defects out like surface defects or case defects. All those things are like very core defects. That itself we have to work it out. After that, you have to apply the NDT to know what kind of defects. Okay. So now, example, I have been working in ultrasound based things. Okay. So like now, what is the thing is ultrasound, whether it will work with the additively manufactured component or not, it should be. Again, maybe I like, thanks for bringing that. NDT people are working on, okay, they are applying it. But before that, we're supposed to know what are the possible defects in this additive manufacturing. Okay, that also people are establishing parallelly. Here I like to, I said correct, 10 layers, 9 interfaces. Each layer will give a different property. Each interface will give a different property. Is it anthropic in nature? Okay, but again, it is not a well-defined pattern. That is the beauty of the additive manufacturing. You can't bring in a particular property. So that you have to establish. What I have to do so that I can bring in, because property point to point varies, then how can I have the uniform property? How can I have a good application out of it? So that you have to think. That is a big void in that. What kind of, people are saying heat treatment you do, but heat treatment, how can I ensure that each layer having the same property? How to ensure that you have to think parallelly something to bring the, otherwise you're melting the material, correct? You melt a material parallelly, suppose pass the another laser for only heat treatment purpose. Something you think out of it. Okay. So NDT, yeah, it has opened a way for the additive manufacturing. People are working on. Another thing is, yeah, related to this property definitions and then making the property uniform. It's a big field to work it on. I need one more question. Last question from the audience. Already it is about 2. So I don't like to drag your time.
Sir, this is related to 3D printer. Can I ask a 3D printer question?
Please, if I know, then I can share. Yeah, please.
For a beginner, if we would like to purchase the 3D printer, which factors we should look into?
Which?
On which area means if I want to select a 3D printer, then what should be the focus area? Means what should I look?
Now, are you student or are you researcher or
faculty for education purpose? Faculty. I'm a faculty for education purpose. I want to buy that.
Okay, then better buy your FDM, fusion deposition modeling. Okay, there you learn additive manufacturing completely actually. Slowly then go for metal based things. Okay, nowadays, maybe down the line, already desktop printers are there, metal desktop printers are there. But for learning purpose, there are some, there are something is there like 10,000 rupees 3D printer also there, 30,000 3D printer also, 1 lakh, 2 lakh. You go for even nominal cost one. Say buy like one 3D printer, okay, maybe around 2.5 lakhs only 3D printer is buy. Okay, that is now it is whatever we have in our lab. It is working very well. We are using day and day out. Okay, it is working very well. I'm so happy that we are experimenting. So better buy FDM type 3D printer. You have good amount of funds to pay to apply. Otherwise, what you are suggesting, even 50 to 1 lakh also you buy thing. Okay, that also okay. But exploring point of view, you want to regularly because we will not maintain much. So that way means that the 2.5 lakh printer is very good in my opinion. Personally, then I'll tell you which company it is, but in a common platform I can't see can't say which company it is. Okay.
That's okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Because I can't do the promotional thing for them.
yes, I understand.
Okay, I think okay. From my side, 4 questions I asked. If somebody wants, please, I'm happy to answer your questions. Otherwise, we'll wind up because you have to have your lunch also, or before the next session. So I think no more question. Then shall I wind up? So thank you to all for patiently listening my lecture. I hope at least you will learn something from my talk. Okay, but only one thing, whatever you do in online, so teaching the things like in person is totally different because I can see your face reactions. Okay, whether you understood what I'm saying or not. But here I can't do that one. That is very difficult. But anyway, I hope you learn something from my talk. Okay, thanks from my side.
Sir,
Sir, over to
sir,
you,
wait
sir.
a minute. Sir, wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Now it's to take still photos, sir, for all. So all the participants unmute the video. I request all the participants unmute the video to take still photo for our purpose. So all of you unmute the video to stop the presentation, sir.
I stopped my presentation, sir.
Okay, sir. So all of you on the video, sir. All the
Actually,
participants
sir.
request to unmute the video.
My video is not working, so I can't switch on
To
my
take a
video.
still photo and other things, sir.
Shall I keep the slide otherwise?
No problem, sir. Dear participant, today third session to start 2:30 p.m. So now it's go to take lunch. So after the photo taken, and also in the WhatsApp group to send it with each and every session feedback detail. So all of you fill and send it.
Sir, photo எடுத்தீங்களா?
Wait a minute, sir. Weekend player having 20%, sir. So one by one to take it photo, sir. In the list,
Stop presentation, sir. Kanmani, sir. Stop presentation.
Oh, okay. 1 minute. I done it. I like that. I
Okay,
thought.
sir. Wait a minute.
1 minute.
Okay.
I thought I've done it.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Okay, good.
I thought I've done it.
wait a minute. Okay. The camera, sir. Sir, on the camera, sir.
Sir, my camera is not working. Sorry for that.
Oh, not working, sir.
Already I said that my camera is not working. Sorry, sir.
Any other doubt for participant? Today the third session to start 2:30 p.m. So all the participants attend the program, and also after the 4 p.m. we start the first session building. So once again I request all the participants. The end of the third session is completed to start first session from the Dr. Y. Ravikumar sir to handle up to 5:30 p.m. So all of you cooperate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for Dr. Kanmani.
Yes, sir. Thank
Kanmani,
you.
sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Palakkad, Kerala. Today the session is very, very nice. The participants are interact with all the area to ask the questions to clarify it immediately. Very nice session, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
The current detail and existing detail to talk about something in this FDP.
Yeah.
The participant queries are cleared immediately. Thank you for your
Okay.
session, sir.
Sir,
Thank you.
are you taking feedback from the audience?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
very
sir.
good.
Already sent it the feedback link, sir, for all the
Okay, sir.
participants through WhatsApp
Yeah,
group, sir.
please share the information with me after the talk. Okay.
Okay, sir. After that, I will send it all the details, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Having
Then
a
shall I,
feedback, sir.
shall I leave
This
now?
detail I will submit it for you, sir. No problem.
Yeah, thank you. Shall I leave now?
Thank you, sir. So much. Very, very thank you, sir. Nice.
Okay, I'm leaving now, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now the participant leave it to join 2:15 p.m. 2:15 p.m. and exactly to start the program 2:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m. Thank you for the participant.